Hey guys, alright, let's see who's live. I'm in the group now. Okay, can you hear me? If you can hear me, because this is the first time you have sound, good, okay. Let's see, let's wait a bit, see who's going to arrive. Okay, we're going to do a demo today of one of my previous sketches. Hi Jackie. Good one. Sorry, it's like I'm not very experienced with live, so I hope this goes well. But I will draw very fast, so I hope you can draw along. I have a bulb of garlic here. I don't know if you can see it. Trying to see the comments on a different screen. It's about there. Okay, great. So I will try to show here a demo how I draw nature morte. In this case is the garlic, and I will do quickly a deconstruction of this sketch of the church, which took about, I think, about maybe 30 minutes on location from coffee shop, and this is I did earlier just as a study. Let's see how it goes. I will try to be quick, and I hope you can keep up. Okay, what do I use? So my favorite pencils for drawing fast, they have to be graphite 4B and 2H. I use 2H for a start, just to mark and get like an idea of the very initial lines, because it's very light and can be adjusted easily or drawn over. And I use 4B most of the time for the contrast. So I'm going to do the garlic. Now there are many different methods for drawing. I personally believe it's very important to understand the form, and this is like referred to mostly here as the Russian method, which is you have to know what is it you're trying to draw, and not just what you see. While the dominant method for drawing in Europe, it's what do I see? I think a balance between the two will give you the best drawing. So I personally draw using a bit of form. So in this case, for the garlic, my angle of view here, because I'm on a desk, will be different to what you see through the camera. So I hope you have access to a fruit or a vegetable that you can draw. The next thing, the most important, probably even more important than the medium, is the light, the source of light. You really need like a strong contrast. And this is something is always missing from online live drawing and all this, like, lessons and videos. They never speak about the light. The light is very, very important, that you have a strong contrast in the light. So I will start with the garlic. So the way I see the garlic, you have to pick an interesting angle. And this is what I'm going to do. So for me, I see the garlic from my perspective, my point of view, as like roughly this way. This is the form. So you can see how I hold the pencil really very open, very wide angle to the page. If I hold the pencil like more vertical is for detail work, but most of the time this is how I hold it. And this is the form. I start with a very rough outline of the garlic cup. So I'm gonna go there, something like, the light is a bit too strong for me here, but there, something like this. And I'm not worried too much here about detail or how it looks. I'm just trying to find the form. Okay, there. Right, then what I do, I try to find the form that is going through the garlic, which are the gloves in this case, and it's about roughly, so I'm just going, when I'm drawing, I don't do this, but I'm going to exaggerate it now, just accentuate what I'm looking for so you can also see it. And I'm looking for roughly the form that is here, about that. Right. Now I know that's the form of the garlic, and I know this is about the shadow is here. And now I go into a bit of trying to find the darker values, which are here. This is how I sketch really fast. I hope you're following along, and you have a vegetable or fruit you can practice with. Now, the side that is in the shade, which, like I said, it's a different angle of view from the camera, but for me, it's this side. And this side will be, the outline will be more pronounced from this side than from this side, which also has to have an outline. So I'm not just there yet, and I'm struggling a bit with the lighting because it's just too strong. And it's the first time I use this setup, so bear with me, please. This is, I'm trying to find the side that is in a shade. And it's very important to remember that what we're doing is an interpretation. We are trying to create an interpretation of the subject. It's not a photorealistic. No one is interested to see photorealistic things because that's why we have photography. So the goal is to try to capture something interesting and to find what's interesting in the fruit or the vegetable or the subject, whatever it might be, that only you can see it then in that object that you're trying to draw. All right, I'm going to go back to the 2H and fill in a bit of mid-tones. can see here that the form is curving away from me around this edge, and for the camera would be here, there, and I have to simulate that form here, right there roughly. Now this is called the midtones, which is just like roughly, it's not the light and it's not the shade, it's almost most of the form. Once I have that, I'm going to now just try to add a bit more color. There. I'm going to add a bit more shadow here. This is the cast shadow. It's the darkest in this environment. How you going? Can you let me know if you're commenting? If you, I mean, you don't have, probably because I didn't post earlier what would be drawing, so you might not have it. So I'll try to do this really quick, the demo, and then we move to something that you can download from the group, which is, can you, by the way, try to get a picture of this from the group, because we will try to, I will try to deconstruct this, how I started and how I did it and how you'll sketch fast architecture on location. Okay, I'm just about to finish here. The side that isn't light, you still have to outline it. But what I do, it's a very thin outline. Has to be like just to dictate the end of the object against the atmosphere, which is the background. Okay, that's it. That's a garlic. I hope you now have seen my method, how I sketch this. What I do often, I just try to like draw some atmosphere, and I just cross hatch this space, just freehand. And what that creates is the illusion of atmosphere and background. And that's about. That's about it. I hope you've seen how that's done and you find this useful. This is a really fast sketch. The intention is to show you that you can sketch something really quick. You can draw fast. You don't have to do something perfect if you want to draw every day, especially during this time that everyone is quarantined. All right, is that good? You can leave me comments if you have any questions regarding this. I'll try to answer them whilst I'm live. If not, I will move on to another sketch, and I can answer your questions next time if you leave them in the comments. All right. Okay. All right, Francis, my garlic looks really different. I'm trying to read the comments on a different screen. Okay. And it's okay. The idea, the point of this exercise, really, it's not technique. We will get into techniques. I'll release more like very detailed sketches and drawings, technical drawings. The point of this is that we can draw fast. It doesn't have to be perfect. The benefits is that you get your hands, you know, with a pencil and a piece of paper, and you draw anything you see, fast, quick, and then you get into the habit of just not thinking too much, not overthinking things. That's the point of this. I don't know how long that took, maybe 10 minutes. That's the point of it. I'm going to move to the next sketch, which is this is a church in Chiswick. It's called, I think, Christ Turnham Green Church. And I'm going to deconstruct this sketch, which means I'm going to redraw it now live, fast, hopefully, and I will show you how I did it on location when I'm looking at something. So this is the sketch. I'm just gonna leave it on the side here so you can see it on the side. And okay, so what I do, this is by the way my favorite subject. Is my favorite thing to sketch is probably to draw on location. I love drawing period buildings, old buildings, Victorian churches, Gothic architecture. So I really love this, and I'll show you how I do it really fast. How can you draw something like this in 20 minutes on location? So what I do, the very first thing you do is, and this will take a little bit of practice, is to almost look at what you want to draw and compare your point of view, your angle of view, and your frame to the sketchbook that you're holding. So if I'm looking at a building right now, let's say this is in front of me, what I'm trying to find is the top. I'm trying to find a point in my sketchbook for the top of the building. Let's say I decide it's here, okay? Because I'm trying to find the length of what I'm trying to draw. And then I'm just going to think, okay, roughly, I cannot draw the whole building in here. I'm going to focus on just this part. So I just go roughly, let's say, I want it to end here. So it's like nicely, framed on paper. Then what I do next is I'm trying to work out the proportions of the height of what I'm trying to capture compared to the width. So in this case, I'm just going to if it's from there to there, that's about roughly what we have, 1. So I'm trying to find this distance. And then I'm just thinking, okay, that's about 1, 2, 3, 4. So this I have to divide by 4, which has to be, let's say, that's about half, and that's the quarter, half, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the width of this building I'm going to capture is roughly this. So now I know that this is roughly the width. So once I have this is the most important part. This is like capturing the proportions, the dimensions of what you're trying to, have on paper. The proportions, framing. In live drawing they call it enveloping or something. I don't know. I just call it measuring. Now I use a 2H pencil, and I try to be really loose and try to find the very first thing is this angle. And what I do, I try to see like big intersections in the architecture that I can actually have on paper for measuring. So I try to find this part here initially, and I go and I try to find it really thin, and it's okay if you get it wrong, you just have to start. So I go and I do this very loose. You can see that the line is very loose. I love An art teacher used to have before, he said that the very first lines are alive and they keep moving and it's okay. That's the point. So I'm going to go find that angle. So you might not have this angle right away, you know, if you're not experienced, but with time and when you sketch more often and, you know, on location and you don't think too much, you start to have like really good eye for measuring things that I don't even need to use these markers anymore. You can do it straight away. And now I move to the width and I try to find these lines. And I just do there. And I try to keep it parallel to the page there. Now I know this is the width of the building. There. And from there I start to have like the major, you know, the sections, the major architectural lines of the building. Now in this case I go there, have this, I'm drawing that. Now I'm just gonna have this wall, which will be at the perspective. I'm not gonna go too much into perspective techniques because that's, you know, that's quite advanced, and slowly we'll get to it, and make some shorter videos on that. And then I'm gonna go here, start like to draw this roof. All right. You can see now we started to have some sort of idea what is it that we're trying to capture. And then from here, it's still like I said earlier in the drawing the garlic. It's you know, what we're trying to do. This is not a photography, and it's not you know, an architectural study. It's an impression. So we're trying to capture as much as what we can see and give the impression or the illusion of you know, what it is that we see and we love, and that's what makes it interesting. You know, if this was I did this drawing in Lisbon a few months ago, and everyone loved it, but this is really, I will share a picture later. It's very far and it's not very accurate. It's, you know, you have to use a bit of imagination. So now I'm just going to move very quickly because I really want this to be a quick drawing, because that's the goal of this session. And I'm going to start to put these sides there. And I'm going here to enter the Alright. Okay, I'm just gonna have a look if you guys have any questions. Okay, no questions, great. I don't have a lot of experience with live, so you tell me if anything is not showing or is not clear. Please send a message. I have another screen, I'm looking at the messages. Otherwise I'll continue. Okay, now what I'll do here, I'm going to start going into like a bit of more detail in the roof, drawing the roof. Okay, right there. And as for the trees here, think of it as layers. So this is the main layer, and this is like an overlay that comes after, because it's closer to the you know, viewpoint where I was then. Okay, so I'm just gonna go a bit faster now. I'm now moving to 4B pencil, and I'm just gonna use Okay, so I'm now going in with the 4B mainly to enforce my main like structures and lines, and to start to have like see what I'm doing more, like, you know, with more certainty, and using more force, because now we have that a bit of clarity, that I don't have to shift any lines, everything looks good. And you can see here I'm trying to do an impression of lots of features, architectural features. This is what I have learned. I mean, I wish I've learned this earlier, that it's really, you're not taking a photo of things, you're trying to capture and do an interpretation. I keep repeating this because, you know, I think it's, I mean, I see lots of the art that is in the group and the art that comes through drawing ideas art community, and this is the thing, we just go into too much detail and too much, and we try to draw things like we see them with our eyes, but it's not the same thing, because we see way more you know, a detail, you know, with our eyes, and photography and HD and film. But art is not like that, it's an impression, you're making an impression and an interpretation of the world, of what you see. So I hope this makes you know, shows the example of that. So now here I'm just gonna go into the roof and just do a very basic rendering of the roof tiles, and this is how I do it. You just have to draw very few tiles to give an impression of the tiles there, and this is because of the angle of view, just there. Okay, this is now, it's an interesting part. I'm just going to try to do a couple of windows. I love the Gothic architecture. In here, I can tell roughly, because I did this drawing before, and I don't want to spend too much time on it. This is the window shape. I am, like, you can see how loose I am in the drawing. It is in the sketch how I use the pencil really light, and I hope this can show you that you can really take it easy and just draw fast, and you know, because all this, especially when you draw something for the first time, you know, it's a study, it's not a drawing, it's a sketch, you know. This window here, it's at an angle, it's quite a difficult angle, and this is where perspective comes to play, and like I said, we'll address this some other time, but this window will be different, and you will not be the same width as the main that is facing us, because this is coming at an angle, and this is, from my experience, this would be roughly it. Yeah, I'm gonna start to put some coloring, some mid-tones below. Now in here, in this drawing, you can see that was a very like cloudy day, so there wasn't much light. The light was cast, so there wasn't a side, there wasn't a sunny part or a very light part. But to make it interesting here for you, and that you can see, I'm going to simulate as if the light is coming from this side. Okay, so imagine, I always would try to simulate it with an egg or sphere or some round object. This is where the light source. Okay, so in that case, this side of the building will be darker. We have to if you have any questions, please just post them in the comments. I'm looking from time to time and I'll try to answer them. If not, then I hope that what I'm doing, that you find it useful or encouraging. Okay, so roughly there. And I'm just going to move on here a bit. There's another window down here. Right, okay. Okay. Okay, so that's roughly it, the main structure. You can see, I don't know how long that took, maybe 15-20 minutes. And I'm just going to go quickly do the tree. I'm just going to bring this structure here. The tree, this is how I do this tree. And the tree is interesting. This tree is very interesting here because it adds a bit of depth and it makes, it makes it more interesting if it was out. Actually, I have a picture of this drawing without the tree and it doesn't look that good. I'm going to just, so this is how I do the tree, just very basic. It's an autumn, whatever. And just go. In here, in this drawing, I have two of my favorite things to draw, which is trees and buildings. There. It's not very. It's an impression of the tree here, just to. Okay, that's it. Okay, that's it. I hope that you found that useful to draw, how to draw fast, and that next time you find yourself somewhere with a sketchbook, that you don't overthink it. You just grab a pencil and just draw and just be loose and spontaneous and free, and don't think too much. There's very little measurements and thinking here, but you have to practice. You have to do that, like frequently. All right, so I'm going to finish this. That was about 30 minutes, and if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments or send me a message directly and I will get to them, try to answer everything. All right.